So it's Dwight Reekin here. Today I'm going to be talking about this article on the Atlantic. It's titled "The Resistance Breakup with the Media is at Hand," and this is a perfect example of the bias in the media. This article here it just shows you the connection of when us who lean right, us libertarian types, when we talk about the media is biased and they're trying to sell you a narrative, they're not necessarily always trying to sell you the news. This is a good example here, and I'm going to show you what they talk about here. It goes here. This person writes, "The day after the 2016 election, I got a phone call from an old friend. Neither of us had slept much and spent most of the conversation exchanging shell-shocked comments of, 'Can you believe this?' Variety. Before we hung up, his voice took on a trace of irony. Well, he said, 'This is going to be great for your career.'" So, right off the bat, it's like, and she goes, "I waved the remark away, but I knew he was probably right." Yes, she knew he was right. Why? Because from day one, they loved the Trump bump that they got when they covered him. And then what happened was, because they thought they just thought he would never win. So when he won, it was like, oh. And so they went from news to, here's the narrative that we want. We don't like him, and even when he does something good, we're gonna attack it. I mean, even when he, peace deals, they ignored peace deals and talked about, any other nonsense that they wanted to. They'll talk about, oh well, Russia this and Russia that, and let me keep going because I could this is a rant. I mean, it's gonna be a rant about the media, but this in particular is the resistance that started when he was elected. It was just resistance because he beat the person that everyone thought was going to win. It was like, here they, so if you see the article here, what I want to, there's a quote here by Jim Acosta, who's, the cringiest of White House reporters. Let me get to it here. I guess if I stop to think, there's something. No, it goes here. It's going to go a little bit further. Let me just keep this slow. So if anyone following along on the video wants to see, but this is you could get this article on the Atlantic. Probably I'll link it in the description, so you could go to it. You can read it if you want. But here they're talking about. Before I could find it, here they're just complaining. But Trump's endless media bashing has also desensitized many news outlets to Republican accusations of bias. And while they've learned to tune out bad faith criticism, they've also soaked up plaudits from their new fans. One cable news anchor told me that praise from anti-Trump celebrities on Twitter has become like a narcotic for some of his colleagues. It's important that people that George Takei likes their monologue, the anchor said, requesting anonymity to speak candidly about his peers. It was few. Now here we go. Here's where I went. Few reporters have been at the center of more high-profile spats with Trump, while with the Trump White House, than CNN's Jim Acosta, veteran TV newsman with salt and pepper hair. Okay, when we need to, and concerned dad demeanor. Okay, Acosta spent the past 4 years picking fights with the Trump flags in the briefing room. Once he walked out of a press conference after then Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders refused to say reporters weren't enemy of the people. On another occasion, the White House temporarily revoked his credentials. Detractors have accused Acosta, who published a book, titled "The Enemy of the People: A Dangerous Time to Tell the Truth in America of Showboating." But he insists that his on-air indignation has always been genuine and just can't go trash the press and totally lie to the American people and tell them the real news is fake news, Acosta told me. I couldn't stomach it. I can't stomach Acosta because that's what he was. It was just this is going to be good for my career. So I'm going to go and basically cover a president like I've always, like you'll always hear me say, if Acosta does this to Biden, I'm fine. Then you know what? Then I would take back my words about him. But you know what? That's not what he's going to do. What's he going to do? Now that Biden's here, it's going to be softball questions. It'll be like, oh, what brand of dog food are you feeding to those two dogs that broke your ankle? It's going to be stupid questions like that. And then when he gets asked real questions, what's going to happen is, we've already seen, there's already a bunch of examples of Biden asking a difficult question and he already doesn't want to answer it. At least, with the Trump administration, you could say that they lied, but they at least answered, your questions, even if they, fought back with you. But here it goes. So this made Acosta famous, but Acosta said he doesn't expect to bring the same crusading style to his coverage of the next administration. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, I'm not surprised. He goes, I don't think the press should be trying to whip up the Biden presidency and turn it into must-see TV in a contrived way, he said. So you see these opinions, and you see what he's saying, but meanwhile, us libertarian right-leaning people, we're crazy for saying that the media is biased, when you could just, here's his bias right there. He's already admitting that he's not going to cover the Biden administration the same way. And that's the problem here. Is, it's like Obama had no controversies for 8 years, which is nonsense. It's just the media didn't stress it. They swept it under the rug. They covered it for, maybe a day, and that's it. That was it. And so, I mean, look, it goes here. If that sounds like a double standard, Acosta told me it's not partisan. It's a matter of professional solidarity. In his view, Trump's campaign to discredit the press has constituted a nonstop national emergency, one that required a defiant response. If being at the White House is an experience that might merit hazard pay, he said, then perhaps it's going to be approached differently. It's, like I said, it's just disgusting. We were gaslit for 4 years, and people bought it. It's like, read between the lines, you'll see. So as what you're going to see now, for the past 4 years, Trump could do no right, and just like the previous years, Obama could do no wrong. That's what's going to happen with the Biden administration. Biden's not going to be able to do any wrong. You're going to see some pushback maybe from Fox News, now that you have One American News and Newsmax, now that you have these other right-wing sources of information, you maybe see some pushback from them. But you know what's going to happen. They may not get credentialed to be able to go into the White House briefing. And you know what? Not CNN, not NBC, not even Fox are going to fight back for One American News or Newsmax. They're going to be like, they're not credible news. Well, if they can't go in and ask the tough questions when you're not, then why shouldn't they be allowed to go in there? Oof. Okay, so I mean, this article just goes on, and it just will go to show you just the bias of the news, and you could see. I mean, I think they're. Let's see. I do not think the story of politics of America is not going to suddenly become boring on January 21st. Yes, it's going to be boring because they're not going to have Trump to kick around. They're going to, they're going to still talk about Trump, especially if he's going to try to run in 2024, you know, they're still going to try to attack him and still bring him up just because the fact that, hey, they want that Trump bump. And, you know, truth be told, come 2024, you know, I'm someone, you know, I always like new faces. I like, you know, I'm someone that's always for term limits. Um, so even, you know, Trump, even though Trump is eligible to get to win to get elected again, I still I think I'd rather see someone younger, someone like Ted Cruz or Rand Paul, even like Nikki Haley. I would like to see someone younger like that. I mean, I would love, especially the irony is, I would love to see Nikki Haley running in 2024 and she win because it'd be like, okay, although then you know it's gonna go. What it'll be interesting will be if Biden runs, then it'll be, you know, oh well, you know, are you gonna support women? Because if it's, you know, are you gonna support a woman of color? Because Nikki Haley is Indian American and she's a female. Are you gonna support that? You know, of course not. Of course, Democrats aren't just gonna, you know, vote for her just because she's a woman. They're gonna be like, no, you know, oh, she's a Republican. Oh, but wait a minute. You're always telling people on the right that if you don't support, you know, your women, then it's racist or sexist. You know, when it's someone, you know, someone of color or a woman on your side, you know, then it's, you know, now it's not racist when it's someone on the Republican side. So, you know, just the media sucks. You know, to me, it's like when these news agencies and these media, this old school media with the print now, you know, this old school print media, they're full of it. They're full of it when they say they're unbiased. You read an article like this and you see how biased they are. It's right there for you, you know, staring you in the face. If you want to ignore it, that's on you, you know. But it's there. They're gonna feed you a narrative, and the narrative is they're people who lean left or Democrats, and they're gonna steer you that way. Now you know, if you want to stay eating it, then eat away. But as for me, I've woken up to this nonsense years ago. Like, I stopped calling myself a Democrat since 2004. I think in 2000, you know, 2000, I voted, I think, Ralph Nader, and then I've been voting Libertarian ever since, before Trump came along. It's the first time for president I voted outside of the Libertarian Party. Um, but yeah, the media are not, you know, the media are they the enemy to people? They're the enemy of truth, regardless of whichever side you're on, because they lie to you. They lie to you and tell you they're not biased. I would respect CNN, ABC, NBC, all these stations. I would respect them more if they admit their bias. I mean, when on CNN you have the brother of the Democratic governor of New York is one of their main anchors. You have Don Lemon talking about how he's unbiased, which we know that's BS. So, you know, their two anchors are people who are biased to the left, but they tell you they're not. And you have ABC, you have George Stephanopoulos. That's he's, you know, he used to be the Clinton. He was a Clinton campaigner in the '90s, but then he's on ABC acting like he's unbiased. So everybody has their bias. Just admit it. Just admit your bias, so like that people could trust you. That's all. You want you know, people on the right to trust the media again. Admit your bias. Admit your bias, so like that we could go, okay, let's move on. We may not agree, but at least we know where you're coming from. That's it. And it bring us closer together as a country. Well, if you like my rant and you like my video, If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on Rumble, subscribe to my channel. Give me a little, boxing glove, and have a good day.